18 million Americans were watching when the studio lights burned brightly and the cameras rolled on February 15, 1973, in Burbank, California. The Tonight Show was live, and Johnny Carson sat behind his iconic desk, calm, charming, and completely in control. By that time, Johnny Carson was not just a talk show host, he was American television itself. His laughter shaped public opinion. His approval could launch careers. His silence could end them. Nobody surprised Johnny Carson. Nobody shook him. Until that night. His guest was Muhammad Ali, the most famous athlete on earth, a three-time heavyweight champion, a poet, a fighter, a rebel, and a symbol of resistance. Ali had been on the show before. He had joked, rhymed, teased Johnny, and entertained America. But this time, something was different. There was a seriousness in his eyes that cameras could not hide. He wasn't there just to entertain. He was there to confront. To understand why that night mattered, you must understand America in 1973. The Vietnam War had divided the nation. Families watched sons leave for a conflict many didn't believe in. Watergate was unraveling trust in government. The civil rights movement had achieved legal victories, but racism was still deeply rooted in everyday life. The nation was tired, angry, confused, and searching for truth. Muhammad Ali stood right in the center of that storm. Born Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. in Louisville, Kentucky, on January 17, 1942, Ali grew up in a segregated America where black children learned early that the world was not built for them. He discovered boxing as a teenager and turned it into his escape, his weapon, and his voice. By 22, he was the heavyweight champion of the world. By 25, he changed his name, embraced Islam, and refused to fight in Vietnam. That decision cost him everything. He was stripped of his title, banned from boxing, called a traitor, and lost the prime years of his career. But Ali never bowed. He stood firm while the entire nation tried to crush him. By 1973, Ali had returned to boxing, but the scars were deep. He carried anger, pain, and a mission. He wanted America to hear him, not just as a boxer, but as a human being. Johnny Carson came from a completely different world. Born in Iowa and raised in Nebraska, he grew up in a quiet, mostly white Midwestern America. His life was comfortable, insulated, and far removed from racial struggle. By 1973, he had been hosting The Tonight Show for 11 years and was one of the most powerful men in entertainment. A guest appearance on Carson could change a life overnight. But Johnny, despite his charm, had never truly confronted the realities of racial injustice. Like many Americans, he watched it on television, from a safe distance. When Ali was booked for the show, producers warned Johnny, he's in a mood. He might go off script. Johnny laughed. He had handled difficult guests before. He believed he was ready. He was wrong. When Ali walked onto the stage, the audience exploded with applause. He smiled, danced, joked, and sat on the couch like the superstar everyone loved. For the first 20 minutes, the interview felt normal. Ali joked about his upcoming fights, predicted victory in rhymes, and entertained millions. Johnny laughed and played along. Everything seemed fine. But Johnny noticed something in Ali's eyes, something darker, something deeper, like a storm waiting to break. Then Johnny asked a simple question. How did Ali want to be remembered? Ali paused. The studio grew quiet. And then, unexpectedly, he stood up. The audience froze. Ed McMahon stiffened. The producers panicked. This wasn't planned. This was live television. Ali walked slowly toward Johnny's desk, each step echoing through the silent studio. He stopped in front of Johnny and looked him directly in the eyes. Not with anger. Not with hostility. But with gravity. Johnny, he said softly, do you know what I really am? Johnny didn't answer. I'm a black man in America, Ali continued. The most famous athlete in the world, and half your audience still sees me as less than human. I need you to understand that. I need America to understand that. The studio went silent. This wasn't entertainment. This was truth. Television executives wanted Johnny to change the subject, cut to commercial, regain control. That's what hosts did. That's what America expected. But Johnny Carson did something no one expected. He put down his pencil, pushed his notes aside, and said 4 words that would change everything. Help me understand, Muhammad. Those words stunned everyone, including Ali. This wasn't a defensive response. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a scripted line. It was genuine curiosity. It was humility. It was a door opening. Ali walked around Johnny's desk and pulled up a chair beside him, something no guest had ever done. They sat side by side, equal, not host and guest. The cameras scrambled. The audience didn't breathe. Ali dropped the showmanship. He spoke about Louisville, about being a child who couldn't understand why some doors were closed. He talked about winning an Olympic gold medal in 1960, standing on the podium with tears in his eyes, proud to be American. Then coming home and being refused service at a restaurant because he was black. He said he threw his gold medal into the river because it didn't make him American enough. He spoke about death threats, hatred, exhaustion, and the burden of representing millions of people. He said the hardest fight wasn't in the ring, it was walking through America and proving he deserved to be treated like a human being. Johnny listened. Truly listened. Then he admitted something shocking on live television. He said he grew up in a white world and thought he understood civil rights because he wasn't one of the people using dogs and hoses. But he had never asked what it felt like. He had never really listened. And then Johnny Carson apologized. Not for something he did, but for what he didn't do. For staying silent when he could have spoken. For using his platform to entertain instead of challenge. For watching from the sidelines while others fought alone. Ali cried. The man who never cried on camera cried in front of America. He forgave Johnny. He said hate was too heavy to carry. The audience cried. Millions watching at home cried. Two men from different worlds chose empathy instead of ego. After the show, they talked privately for hours. Johnny invited Ali to dinner. They spoke about faith, fear, family, and responsibility. That night changed Johnny Carson. He began inviting activists, thinkers, and voices mainstream TV ignored. He spoke more honestly. His ratings didn't drop, they soared. Ali said later that night healed something inside him. He gave Johnny a signed boxing glove that said, "To Johnny, the only man who ever knocked me down without throwing a punch." Years later, Ali carried that lesson across the world, spreading peace, visiting prisons, speaking about humanity. When he lit the Olympic torch in 1996, billions watched a man who had fought America and then taught America how to heal. Johnny Carson said that moment with Ali was the proudest of his career. The real lesson wasn't about boxing, fame, or television. It was about courage. Ali chose truth over performance. Johnny chose listening over defending. They proved that conversation can be more powerful than conflict. Sometimes, the most powerful words in the world are not shouted. They are whispered. Help me understand.